Alright, we have a special level 2 member request here. Thank you very much for that. For this song, I'm going to be using the easiest deviation from standard tuning. Basically, I'm just going to do kind of a hybrid drop D flat or C sharp thing. So I'm just going to take the low E, drop it down to the D flat, C sharp. So basically you could check your tuning with that. You could just hit the 4th fret on the A and hit the open low string. Alright, so it's like we're doing a drop D, but then we just take it a half step further. And that's basically the easiest way to get from just a standard to be able to play this and have the nice kind of low open power chord stuff, all that fun stuff. And so we'll end up basically D flat and everything stays the same. A, D, G, B, E under it. And for this initial intro section here, it definitely help if you have a tremolo arm or a whammy bar, you know, because there's kind of this dive thing that happens, or dip if you want to say. It starts with this kind of big E5, so just big E power chord. So with this tuning, we're going to make kind of a G shape basically. And we do 3 on the low D flat string, and then we'll have 2 on the A and D, and then I do this 4 on the G for the B note and just get the open B string under it. And if you incidentally hit like the open high E string, that's fine too, but not necessary. So basically just hit that big full chord, and then like I said, we'll just take this tremolo arm and just do kind of a dive with it. Alright. Definitely has that kind of sound going on there. So we hold that for a moment, and then we switch to an A flat power chord. So with this tuning, we'll zoom up here, 7 on the low D flat, 6 on the A and D, and it's kind of like strum, 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 and then off to the big open low D flat that we're using this tuning for. So just hit the open low D string or D flat string, and then 4 A, 6 on the D and G under it. Get a nice big D flat power chord there, and this is just kind of like a couple hits. And then we go to this F sharp power chord, which would be 5 on the D flat, 4 on the A and D, and it's kind of that same 1 2 1 2. back to our first chord, the E flat, big power chord with the dive on it, the 3 2s with the 4 and the open B. And then the second run through, instead of coming up to the A flat, we just go to the F sharp, that 5 with the 4s, and it's 1 2 1 2. And then off to the couple hits of the D flat, the open 4A, 6D, and G there for a couple of hits. And then just finish back at the F sharp, the 5 with the 4s for 1 2 1 2. Alright, and that whole pattern there just kind of cycles throughout the intro. Eventually we get to this pre-verse, and the chords here also happen throughout the verse. And the chords are pretty straightforward. It's just the open D flat there, the open D flat string, 4A, 6, and D there. And it's just kind of like strum, strum, 1 2 1 2 1. Just really listen to like the drums, what they're doing, and just try to kind of follow that shuffle with the drums. Something like that. You know, just pay attention to the drums, what they're doing. Go through that a couple times like that, and then we just move to an A chord. And you can just zoom up here to the 8 on the D flat with the 7s on the A and D. Something like that. And if you don't like that, you can just come off to like an open A power chord if you want here. Depends on what kind of tone you like better there. But those two chords just kind of repeat like that throughout this pre-verse and verse section. And in the pre-verse section, we get a lead line here, and it's hanging out here on just mostly like the high 3 strings here in this kind of area. Start here on the 6B, give a bend and release, then we go 6G, 4B to 6, 4 high E to 7B. Right. And then the next spot, 5 on the B string, bend and release, 6 4 6 G, 4 on the B. And then basically we're going to repeat those two little bits again, but just add a little something at the end. So we do the initial one again. But the second run through, we zoom up and throw in this 9 7 high E at the end. And then when we get to the next spot, we do the same thing. And then at the end of that, we throw 6G, hold that a moment, 4 6. Okay, so kind of the same. Just go through it twice, but that the second run through is we add those couple little extra notes. Other than that, we get to this, I guess you would say this is the bridge section. I'm not really sure what you would qualify as like the chorus or bridge in this song, but I'm going to call this the bridge because it's kind of feels like a transition to the next area of the song. But start here at the A flat, so the 7 on the low D flat and 6s on the A and D. And we just hang out here for that same kind of shuffling strum a couple times. Bump it up a fret to the 8 and 7s for the A. A couple times again. Go through the whole thing about another, 3/4 of a time, but that final A, we just do it like once there. And then we bump it up to a B at the 10 with the 9s. Right. And after that, we go back to the initial intro thing that we did, the dive, all right, at the E power chord there. But here it's a little different. We don't go through that whole progression again. We just kind of do that dive, then we rest, and then we go to the open D flat, the open with the 4 and 6s here, and just shuffle that out. And just do that a couple times. Alright, and after that we kick off our outro run here, and it starts off just kind of like not as much overdrive, just kind of chilled out a little bit more. And then basically it'll just kind of kick on some more overdrive and effects and then just do it like bigger sounding. But it's all kind of the same progression here. We switched to like this major 7 sus stuff going on. So start here with the open D flat, 8A, 10 D. All right, and you gotta be a little tricky here because throwing that open low string with some higher fretted stuff, You might run into problems where like open, it sounds a little funky, and then when you fret it, it'll sound good, or vice versa, where like it sounds good open, but then once you fret it, it'll be a little sharp. So it's a little bit of a trade-off here. It sounds good open there, but eventually we're going to hit this, which you got to be real careful. Maybe just don't press as hard, because then it'll make it sharp. You can kind of hear that, so just be real careful there, because we're going between opens and high fretted stuff like that. It can be a little wonky. So like I said, the open low D flat, we got the 8A 10 D, and then we just do 11 on the D, keep the same open in 8. Alright, and we go through the 10 again on the D with the 8A open low D flat, and then we switch to this look with the open D flat, the 8A and 6 on the D. The second run through, just do the open 8 and 10, open 8 and 11, and then just jump up to the G here, keep the middle D just muted, and then go 11 on the G to 10. Alright, we're still keeping that same open and 8A on the top of it. And then here's where we kind of switch to the B flat, where we do the 9 on the low D flat, and then we basically just do that same 8A 10 D, and then strum that out, and then 11. Alright, just go through that a couple times. Alright, and then here, the first run through, I like to just kind of drop down and hit this, just open A string, 2 on the D. You can skip the G if you want to throw the 2 on the G, it's fine, but just get that 2B with it. Alright, and this is just kind of a strum this out shuffle style. And the switch here is the first run through, you just do it once. Go through it kind of one measure there. But then every other time, we stay on it and do it like 2 measures. Okay, so just a little oddball thing there. Other than that, we have the outro lead, which is just kind of this area again that we had the other lead. And we just go between 8G, 6B a couple times, and then do that whole thing a few times. And make sure you got the right spot. 8G, 6B. Okay, just do that a few times, and then we do a little 6, 7B, 9E, 6B, and then the 8G, 6B again. A little something like that. Switch to another look here where we just do that 9E, 6B, 8G, 6B. Go through that a couple times. Maybe a little fun dissonance here with the 8G, 5B, or you could just hit an open high E if you can't do that stretch. Go between those a couple times, hit the 8 again. Alright, and that'll repeat as, that A section repeats in the previous part. So other than that, those should be all the sections, and hopefully that works out. Thanks a lot.